The totality of the circumstances warrants that the defendant, Wade Stephen Wilson, be sentenced to death for each count of first-degree murder.
Did you commit those murders concerning Kristine Melton and Diane Ruiz?
No, ma'am, I did not commit these murders, and I'm innocent.
I fucking killed the
Kristine Melton grew up in Illinois and would move to Cape Coral, where she started working as a waitress at the Moose Lodge. She was a godmother, owned a cat, and lived in a duplex in the Cape Coral area. She was a fun-loving, kind person who was known by her friends as someone that made people around her feel safe. Melton loved Halloween and enjoyed dressing up. She lived in Colorado before moving to Cape Coral with her best friend Stephanie Sailors. Melton was very close to her mother, and the two were described as being two peas in a pod. She was also an avid traveler and wanted to know everything she could about the world. Diane Ruiz was a mother and was engaged to get married. She was known to people as being caring and hardworking. In fact, her son was a freshman in high school, and in just a few days, she was meant to see him debut in his high school band program. She worked as a bartender at the Moose Lodge as well and hadn't missed a single shift in over 5 years. She was described as being kind, and she loved her family. Unfortunately, though, the lives of these two bright women would be snuffed by a twisted and sick individual who simply had no motive other than wanting to kill someone. Wade Wilson, otherwise known as the Deadpool Killer, woke up on the morning of October 7th, 2019, and proceeded to make a decision that would change the already downsloping trajectory of his life.
He just told me, he did something. There was 2 people gone that would not be back. He said, I'm a killer.
Do you think he was just telling you a story?
He's a good storyteller.
All right, I'm gonna put some new handcuffs on you. Sure. If you do anything stupid, I'm gonna slam you on your face.
Look stupid? You can slam me in my face if you want to. I don't care. I'm not gonna do nothing
stupid,
but you don't have to threaten me. Different.
Thanks the fuck, man. Spread your feet. Kick
fuck, man. Good all night. Fuck,
yeah.
You wanna tell me you're gonna threaten me on your face? I would slam you one-on-one.
Hey.
Don't go anywhere. Hey.
Wade Stephen Wilson had a difficult history behind him. He was born on May 20th, 1994, to teenage parents. His father was only 14 at the time, and his mother was only 13. His parents struggled to provide for him financially and couldn't give him a stable home, so the two decided to put him up for adoption. Eventually, Steve and Candace Wilson would take in Wade and raise him in the city of Tallahassee, Florida. He eventually attended Deer Lake Middle School and Chila's High School in the area as well. Wade allegedly told a psychiatrist that his childhood was good until he reached the age of 11. At that point, he had apparently told his adoptive parents that he thought he was going crazy. Wade's childhood was marked by his troubling behavior. He would often get involved in minor criminal activities and would also abuse drugs. During his childhood, he would sustain several head injuries, including 4 concussions. People who were familiar with Wade while he was in school often described him as being eerie and difficult. A former classmate of his said that she had the same group of friends as Wade in middle school and that they sat together for lunch. She claimed that he and his friends would often pass drugs around at lunch and that Wade would always wear a black hoodie with his hood over his head constantly. She would smoke marijuana with him when she was 14, and this eventually became a daily ritual. Wade was described as flirting a lot with other girls and that he didn't respect authority at all. He would be expelled from high school at one point after smoking weed in the bathroom and setting a roll of toilet paper on fire. Another woman who went to high school with Wade said that she had a brief relationship with him and that he wasn't respectful and cheated on her during that time. He had also allegedly stolen money from her bag. He apparently hung around students who would get into trouble in school often, and that he did things like trespass, break into cars, and other criminal activity. He apparently also simply enjoyed doing those sorts of things, even if he wasn't gaining any money out of it. Wade's parents were apparently nice people, according to acquaintances. The Wilsons were described as friendly, church-going people. They lived in the suburbs and had a nice house. They also had expensive cars. They seemed to be financially stable, and it seemed like they also provided well for their adoptive son. However, there would be a particular incident where he stole his parents' car and disappeared from the area for 3 days. In November 2013, Wade would be sentenced to prison for burglary and grand theft and would serve time until September 2015. In 2015, Wade would be arrested on charges of battery and kidnapping after a woman told police that he had assaulted her in his SUV after they'd met at a party. They had apparently gone back to his car to smoke together when he abruptly turned violent. He had also threatened to shoot the woman multiple times and called her a bitch. He would deny the charges and eventually was acquitted by a 6-person jury. In 2017, Wade would once again find himself behind bars for stealing firearms and would remain in prison until July 2018. Later in 2018, Wade would be involved in some capacity in a trial of a woman named Denise Williams in Tallahassee. Williams was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder in the death of her husband Mike Williams and plotting with her lover Brian Winchester to make it look like a boating accident. Winchester had testified against Williams and told the jury that he tried to get Wade, who was serving time in the same jail, to fabricate evidence in the case. Wade had even allegedly gone as far as to offer to kill Denise. Wade claimed that he was a hitman, which Winchester didn't believe, and eventually Winchester told Wade not to bring up the suggestion of murdering Denise again. In 2018, Wade would meet a woman online named Kelly Matthews. The two would begin a relationship together, and Matthews found that he was charismatic and nice. However, at some point during their relationship, he would begin to use cocaine, and his behavior quickly became violent and erratic. At one point, they would get into a fight when she took his bag to search for drugs. He'd kicked a door, and she had thrown a kitchen table at him. Wade would eventually agree to go to a nearby rehab facility, but would then change his mind and decide to go to another one in the Florida Keys, which was 3.5 hours away. They got into a fight in a parking lot when Matthews suggested that Wade was lying and was going to meet someone.
He kidnapped me and almost killed me.
In February, Matthews filed a report with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office after she says he sexually assaulted her on her birthday.
He started trying to choke me. I almost blacked out. And then he asked if I was done being stupid. And he pushed me on the floorboard of my car.
The incident report details injuries to her mouth and lip, bruises and cuts seen in photos Matthews gave to us. The investigation is now inactive.
Wade's long and troubled past in crime would culminate in his most deadly act yet later that very year. On October 7, 2019, Wade and his girlfriend, Mila Montanez, would head out to a local bar called Buddha Live in Fort Myers. However, Wade and Mila had a troubled relationship and were often volatile around each other. The two would get into a heated argument. Wade eventually went to speak with other people at the bar, including a man named Jason Shepard. The two men would begin to speak with two women, Kristine Melton and her best friend, Stephanie Sailors. Wade and Kristine apparently hit it off, and after the bar closed, the group would go back to Jason Shepard's home. Wade and Kristine would become intimate together, and then Wade, Kristine, and Stephanie would head out to Kristine's house. Jason would go with them as well. He would be the first to leave the next morning. And then, sometime after that, Wade would strangle Kristine Melton to death in her bed, stole her car, and fled the scene. Wade would track down Mila Montanez at her workplace and violently assaulted her before he left and spotted a woman named Diane Ruiz, who was walking to her job. Wade asked Diane for help in locating a school, and he'd lure her into his car under false pretenses. Once she was inside the vehicle, she would try to exit the car. At that point, Wade would strangle her. He decided to go and bury her body, but he realized that Diane was still alive. Horrifically, Wade would choose to run her over with Kristine Melton's car, possibly up to 20 times until Diane died. After the murder spree, Wade would phone his biological father, Stephen Testaseca. Over the course of several phone calls, Wade would admit to killing the two women in gruesome detail. Testaseca and his wife would immediately call the police, and Wade was arrested the next day, telling detectives that he would commit the crimes again if he was given a chance.
I'm going to detain you until I figure out what exactly is going on. Wait, you don't want any trouble for me? Okay? Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I'm going to have you step out of the car, and I'm going to detain you. Not arrest. Detain you right now. Okay? And I can't have any problems. You understand me? Let me see the keys when my partner gets here. L41, gonna need a couple more units. Don't go anywhere. Hey.
One of the major focuses of the trial of Wade Wilson was his mental health. His many head injuries were brought up in the trial as evidence that he was potentially impaired. There are medical theories that exist in the modern world that attempt to posit how murderous criminal behavior is formed, one of which includes the prevalence and consistency of frequent head injuries across many murder cases and serial killer cases alike. A neurologist in the case testified that brain scans showed trauma and impairment, which may have served to explain some of Wade's impulsive behaviors. However, experts on behalf of the prosecution argued that drug abuse was a more significant factor in his crimes. The defense would argue that drug abuse could have impaired Wade's judgment at the time. While in jail awaiting trial, Wade would begin to get lots of facial tattoos, most notably a swastika tattoo under his right eye. He would also add tattoos referencing a DC villain, the Joker, with the words, "Why so serious?" written on his face near his right eye. He had joined a white supremacist prison gang known as the Unforgiven Gang as well, which is one of the most prominent in the state of Florida. It was founded back in 1986. Typically, prisoners may potentially join gangs like the Unforgiven Brotherhood or other similar ones in an attempt to protect themselves because they're afraid that they may be unsafe without the protection of a gang. As for Wade, it's more clear than not that attention is something that he wanted, and the tattoos were shocking. White supremacist symbols on him were guaranteed to garner some attention. In the trial, Stephen Testaseca would testify against his son in court. He explained that Wade could not provide a proper motive and that Wade said that he just wanted to kill. The jury would deliberate and they would make their decision on what Wade Wilson's fate should be. In the case of Melton, 9 of the 12 jurors would vote in favor of the death penalty. In the case of Ruiz, 10 of the 12 would vote in favor of the death penalty. In the state of Florida, only 8 of 12 jurors need to recommend the death penalty for it to be considered by the judge as a punishment. Wade's trial would receive intensive attention from the internet for a myriad of reasons. The crime itself was absolutely horrifying and shocking to many, but there was also another more morbid reason as to why the trial and Wade himself received so much attention. After the trial began, Wade would receive dozens of letters from across the United States and even globally, from as far as Belgium and Germany and Brazil. Women on social media were especially obsessive about Wade, and over 24 women would write to the judge presiding over the case in defense of Wade. They would try to argue that he was under the influence of drugs and had brain damage, or that other criminals who'd done worse didn't get the death penalty. In one incident, a woman had even written that Wade is the, quote, kindest, most caring, loving person. On social media, accounts would make TikTok edits about him with music in the background, attempting to somehow paint him as innocent. It is one of many recorded cases of hybristophilia, a psychological term for individuals who develop romantic feelings for criminals. A similar situation occurred with serial killer Ted Bundy. His case also gained attention due to the fact that he shares a name with a Marvel comic book character named Deadpool. As such, Wade Wilson would be commonly referred to as the Deadpool Killer. At some point in 2020, he and his cellmate Joseph Katz were accused of tampering with a window in their cell in an attempt to escape prison. Wade was the main planner and instigator in the escape attempt and had even tried to set up a getaway car. The getaway car was supposed to arrive the following morning via fellow inmates at around 1 or 2 a.m. Investigators found notes passed between Wade and another prisoner, who was also a member of the Unforgiven Gang. Deputies would search the cell and found that the metal frame holding the window had been removed and that there were several cracks in the security glass. Then in 2023, Wade would plead nolo contendere, which means no contest or no defense to smuggling drugs into prison. This would be in exchange for having charges related to the escape attempt dropped. He was sentenced to a fine and 12 years in prison to be served concurrently with his death penalties. In 2023, Wade would survive a drug overdose while serving time at the Lee County Jail. The incident would trigger an investigation by the Lee County Sheriff's Office. Police were able to find 2 bags containing loose cigarettes, drugs, lighters, and pills, and both bags tested positive for meth. The drugs had been apparently brought by an inmate trustee, who is an inmate that is considered trustworthy and is usually given special privileges. The trustee had apparently given the drugs to another trustee, who then passed the drugs on to Wade and another inmate. Wade had also apparently spoken about drugs during a recorded jail phone call with a woman named Bonnie Wiggins. Wade, Bonnie, Antonio Del Toro, Bobby Hitchman, and Daniel Mulcahy were arrested on charges of conspiracy to traffic in a controlled substance and trafficking in methamphetamine. Hitchman was coordinating with people on the outside to have the drugs brought into the jail. Wiggins faced additional charges in trafficking in fentanyl and possession of a controlled substance. In July 2025, Wade would be transferred to the Sewanee Correctional Institute. As of August 31st, 2025, Wade is serving his sentence at the Union Correctional Institute in Rayford, Florida, on death row. He is appealing the decision of his case to the Supreme Court of Florida. What Wade Wilson did on that fateful October 7, 2019 morning would change the lives of 2 whole families. It is one of the most shocking and disturbing cases of a random murder spree out there, and it is truly a sign that evil can lurk anywhere at any time.
Scott Hannon is reeling the death of his fiancée, Diane Ruiz.
I don't think I'll ever love that way ever again.
And I will be there at the execution. That's a promise.
The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder.